have diarrhea once or more a month.
False, but thanks for asking.
I like the sound of a woman screaming.
The scene cuts to Kristen in the courtroom telling the prosecutor the defendant is in the deceitful range on her test. They conclude that it's likely he's lying about blacking out during the murders so he can plead insanity. The defense attorney goes on to ask if Kristen believes in demons.
Are you referring to demons metaphorically or clinically?
Kristen goes back to the killer and asks why the defense is suddenly claiming he's getting his orders to kill from the devil.
Again, there's no demonic possession?
No. My wife believes in that stuff. I don't.
Why is the defense saying you're possessed by a demon named Roy?
I have no idea.
So it's your position that you blacked out during the killings, and that's it?
Yep.
Kristen says the Lord's Prayer, and the killer attacks her while speaking in tongues. Kristen has her doubts about her original diagnosis and tells the prosecutors that she can no longer support her expert opinion that the serial killer didn't black out during the killings.
I need you on the stand to confirm your earlier testimony.
Or what?
We'll have to reconsider our relationship. That's all.
You want someone to lie for you on the stand? You can get someone else. Not me, Your Honor.
The show's male protagonist, David Acosta, played by Michael Coulter, a priest in training, shows up at Kristen's office to offer her a job after hearing that the prosecution was no longer using her.
I don't believe in all that. Devils and possession.
That's okay.
When Kristen is sleeping, she has a very realistic dream of a demonic creature named George crawling into her bed.
George is the name. Good to meet you. Are you wearing any underwear? For your new boss, David.
When Kristen starts screaming, her kids come running to her room and wake her up. Kristen explains the sleep paralysis to her shrink.
You ever had a night terror before?
No, never.
Well, how do you know it wasn't just a nightmare?
My eyes were open and I had sleep paralysis. I also saw a shadow figure. In the literature, there's always talk of shadow figures.
An incubus.
The serial killer Orson LaRue freaks out Kristen when he describes her dreams with the demon George.
David doesn't know about George, does he? But I do.
Kristen rushes over to her shrink's office and forces him to show her the file on her session where she told him about George, and the files are missing. Kristen finds out that the prosecution's new forensic psychologist took the note from the filing cabinet and is using them to sabotage her in court. When Kristen confronts Leland, he tells her that she's in over her head, and in a low tone proceeds to threaten her family. David Acosta comes to the rescue and loses his cool when Leland mocks his fiance's death. While celebrating their victory and cracking the case of who was telling LaRue to kill, Kristen agrees to work with David and Ben on their next case. Kristen asks David about his belief in miracles, then opens up to him about her daughter's complications with her heart valve. David asks if Kristen still wants to do the case, and she tells him she's been offered her old job back. David tells her to let him see what the church can do to get her to stay. David talks the Catholic Church into hiring Kristen at a higher rate than the DA's office is offering. After Kristen finds out that the DA's office decided to hire Leland Townsend back, Kristen and Leland get into it outside the courthouse.
You're just gonna overturn everything I did on those two cases? Argue to release the guilty, imprison the innocent?
Yeah, but not because I'm bad. Because you're easily persuaded, Kristen. You're too soft. You said so yourself in therapy session number 12.
Kristen realizes George the demon from her dreams is from a scary show she's seen with her kids, and that's why both her and her daughter saw George in their dreams. At the end of episode 2, David walks into a nightclub to buy psilocybin mushrooms from a dealer and takes it with tea back in his room, having a vision he believes is from God. Kristen confronts Leland outside the courthouse and records him while he admits his evil intentions, but he manages to jam his voice in the recording. Ben is able to make a deepfake of the recording that Kristen uses in court. When Kristen's girls get 2 sets of VR goggles from their grandmother and a horror game, the girls play the game when their mom is not around, and a mysterious account from the World Wide Web asks them to join their game.
What does it do?
Look, I'll start. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail, hail.
Good. Here he comes. Here he comes. Here he comes.
Now we can really play.
Ben catches the girls when they are playing the horror game and think no adults are around. Ben Child protects the girls' VR sets for Kristen.
you doing?
I'm getting rid of you, Rose 390.
It won't work.
Yes, it will. You are a pedophile with a voice modifier, and if you ever try to get in here again, I am gonna dox you into the next century.
Kristen attends her first observation of an exorcism. Kristen thinks the exorcism should be stopped because the woman receiving the exorcism is dehydrated and seems mentally unstable. Kristen calls her psychiatrist for a non-Catholic doctor's opinion. Kristen's psychiatrist thinks the woman is schizophrenic and that playing into the superstitions of the Catholic Church is making things worse. Kristen and the doctor want to bring the woman to a hospital, but David and the priest want to continue with the exorcism, monk's codex. Kristen's mom decides to bring Leland over for dinner, and Kristen calmly brings him out to her garage office. When the team gets a video of a woman possessed by a demon saying the name of a murder victim, Kristen asks her homicide detective friend Mira about what she heard in the video. When Mira asks her where she got the information, Kristen feels obligated to withhold it from her. When the team takes a look at the original codex, Kristen recognizes the demonic sigil from the one Leland put in her daughter's unicorn journal. With a quick Google search of the image, David finds out that the sigil is from the famous grimoire on demonology, The Lesser Key of Solomon.
Anatus, the great beast, a mighty king in the hierarchy of devils and demons. He rules over 30 legions of infernal demons, feeding off the sins and lies of humanity. Lies and sins that give him strength and power.
Mira and the police show up to the house of the demon-possessed woman because of an anonymous tip. David figures out that his father also uses the demonic sigil in his artistic work. Kristen and David show their findings to Monsignor, believing that the demons' talk of the 60 might actually be a cult. Monsignor wants them both to investigate David's father to see if he has any connection with the cult of the 60 prophecy. On the way out to David's dad's house, he doesn't have anything nice to say about him.
Just to warn you, my dad can be a bit of a bastard.
When's the last time you saw him?
5 years ago.
Kristen and David get dosed with magic mushroom sangria at David's father's root ritual party. High off psilocybin spiked sangria, David dances with one of the ancestors during the root ceremony. During Kristen's trip, she hears a scream coming from the cornfield and finds David's father's pregnant wife, Esther, giving birth to a demonic larva. Kristen's flirtation with David hits a crescendo on the ride back from David's father's party. Still drunk and high off psychedelic sangria, Kristen cozies up to David's muscular shoulders. After getting out of the Uber, Kristen stumbles towards the front steps to find her husband back home from Everest earlier than expected. In episode 9, David gets a subpoena for the exorcism Kristen disagreed with him and the exorcist about. David wants to get their story straight, but Kristen stops him before he has a chance to say anything incriminating. The church's lawyer ends up being David's dead fiance's sister, Renee Harris. The woman who suffered from the exorcism wants to sue the church for not agreeing with the expert witnesses and getting her psychiatric help. Renee comes to David's room and confesses her undying love for him she's had since he was in a relationship with her sister. David confesses to a priest to sleeping with Renee, but not to being in his third year at seminary school. At the end of episode 10, David makes a confession about his last confession. When David's done with his confession, he gets mugged outside the church. Kristen figures out who Leland really is and calls him out outside of the courtroom.
You're an insurance adjuster from Des Moines. Or at least you were until your second divorce. Then you moved to New York, went to college, and decided to recreate yourself as Leland Townsend, a forensic psychologist psychopath.
When the released serial killer Orson LaRue comes to Kristen's house, she calls the cops. After Kristen gets another note from the serial killer, she grabs an ice pick. When she shows up at the fertility clinic to meet with David and Ben, she has blood on her leg.
Hey, why do you have blood on your leg?
I don't have blood on my leg. See?
Do you want me to say that I never saw blood on your leg?
I want you to see there isn't blood on my leg. See?
You okay, right?
Yeah, spectacular. When my family's safe, I am spectacular.
Mira calls Kristen to tell her Orson LaRue was bludgeoned to death. Kristen then picks up a rosary, and the season ends with her being burned by the cross like she was possessed by a demon.